Hello and welcome to the Secret Wealth Project. I'm Matt. I hope you're doing all right on this lovely day. Hope you're working hard. Hope Q4's going well for you. Hope you're sourcing well. Okay, so I've spent quite a bit of time creating this mind map for this video. In fact, I would dare say it's probably the most, in fact, it's clearly, massively the most preparation I've made for any of these videos. So I'm hoping the video carries some value to it. But basically, I'm entitling this video, or I'm entitling this mind map at least, the How to Make £1 Million with Amazon Online Arbitrage plan. Now, I realise that the figure 1 million is probably a bit like, to some people, they'll be like, ooh, £1 million, ooh, this is exciting. And then other people will just be like, oh, groan. They'll be groaning about it and thinking, why has he called it £1 million? People like a million, don't they? You know, but you can insert whatever figure you want there. Let's say this doesn't have to be a million. In fact, I could change that right now and make it whatever figure you want. So my magic number is probably £100,000 a year profit. That's what I'd like this business to make. People that know me will know that I don't really like to create or run businesses that kind of make wages. You know, like if it's making £10,000, £20,000, £30,000 a year, don't get me wrong, that's great, and it's life-changing income a lot of the time. But for me personally, I want to build a business that can build itself and scale up on its own. So a self-sustaining, self-replicating machine almost, you know. That's the kind of business I'm interested in. And I think online arbitrage can be that. And that's really what this video is about. So you insert whatever figure you want there. If you've got a lot of money sitting around and you want to invest it, you could put £10 million in there. How to make £10 million with Amazon Online Arbitrage plan. That number doesn't matter. So don't dwell on that number. What that number is it's a number that matters something to you. So for me, maybe £1 million sales would be nice. £1 million a year sales, or £100,000 profit would be nice, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, I'm going to get started. So the first things first. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, I'm struggling to zoom. I'm not going to be able to zoom. It's probably the screen capture software that's going to make it not be able to zoom. Oh no, it's just me being silly. Right, so we're going to go this way down here, okay? So first things first. Before you do anything, obviously you've got your basic stuff that most of you have already done if you've set foot in this kind of business already, and that's started an Amazon account and things like that. But let's say you've not started your Amazon account or whatever, you've got to get all that stuff done first. Well, that's beginner stuff, so I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to jump a little bit ahead and go through the kind of overview chunks of this business that you've got to take care of if you're going to scale this up. Okay, so the first thing is capital. Obviously, if you've not got any cash, then you're not going to be able to do much with anything. So capital is, we'll call it king. You could obviously get capital from lots of different places. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just something that came off my head when I was going for it. So some people got rich family and friends. I didn't have that benefit, but some people have, so you could maybe borrow some money off family and friends. I would advise you don't do that until you actually know what you're doing. So don't just come into this business and go, wow, dad's laying around, I'll borrow it and blow it, you know. Because obviously any business carries risk. This one's no different to any others. So potentially you could blow the money if you don't know what you're doing. So it's important you know what you're doing first and get some practice in at each one of these steps before you really scale it up. But especially with your friends or family's money. The one I like best is personal funds here, okay? So what you could do is you could use your savings. That's the one personally I like best. If you've got some savings, you know, it's your money. Rather than spend it on a new pair of shoes, ladies, or a handbag, or, I don't know, a little pony, or what do men spend it on? Silly things like, what do men, beer and gambling. Rather than do them silly things, boys and girls, with your cash, what you could do is you could use that to start a business, and that's my preferred thing. So I would suggest using savings as your primary kind of capital for this business. Other ideas might be maybe you've got some shares, like Holly's she's been buying, that's my partner, by the way, she's been buying shares and putting them in mutual funds, and putting the cash into mutual funds, and they've gained some money this year, so she's starting her online arbitrage business, very part-time, very spare-time business, with £270 that she's made from her buying shares in her ISA this year. So she's going to start with that. So you can sell some shares. Obviously, if you've already got business, you might have some dividend income from your company or something like that. Or maybe there's other ways you can get dividends. Obviously, you're not forced to have savings. You could literally just go, you know what, I'm not going to waste my wages this week on going to Nando's or going out for food or whatever. I'm going to save up. I'm going to save up for a couple of months, and then once I've got some money, I'm going to throw some of my wages into it. So that's another one you can do. Obviously, if you've got any property or cash flowing assets, then you could always use the cash from them. So yeah, that's kind of personal funds. That's my favourite thing because it's yours. And if it all went wrong, which hopefully it won't, but if it did all go wrong, then it's just you. It's just you, and you're not gonna. As long as you don't risk what you can't afford to lose, then you'll be okay. Although there is some people that would argue it's better to risk what you can't afford to lose, because then there's only one way to go, and that's to make it work. But especially in your first business or your first online business, it might be a good idea to start small, use your own savings or whatever. Another thing is investors. Once you know what you're doing, and once you can demonstrate that you can clearly... Sorry, I had an apple. Once you can demonstrate that you can clearly make money, then to a certain extent, I think it would be quite easy to get outside investment. If you can say, I can give you a 12% return within 6 months, these are the risks, this is the whatever, I think a lot of people would snap your hand off at that. Even if you could say 15% a year, a lot of people would go for that. So there's a lot of people out there with a lot of cash, and there's not much yield around. It's got tougher and tougher to have your money make money. So there's investors with money in the bank that would love to invest in something that they can see as a physical thing. It's not like some kind of imaginary, we'll build this brand, we'll do this. It's like, I'm going to go to Walmart, Target, I'm going to go to Tesco, I'm going to go to Argos, I'm going to buy this product. So that's where your money is going. It's in that product. Worst case scenario, we can't sell it for what we bought it for. You maybe lose a little bit, but we're going to diversify that portfolio of products so much, or that range of products so much, that the risk is very limited. And obviously, if you can demonstrate that, excuse me, let me just grab a water. If you can demonstrate that over time you've been able to successfully and predictably make money, then a lot of people will be willing to invest with you. That was partly my plan coming in, because I know a lot of people that have just got a bit of spare cash laying around, but they can't do anything with it. You put it in the bank, you get nothing. You can't really. It's very hard to make assets make you money at the minute unless you get really kind of creative. Like, obviously, even like you buy a house, the rental yield, if you're lucky, might be 4%, 5%, 6% if you're really lucky. So obviously, if you've got mortgage on that house and you've paid your mortgage and things, there's not really much left over, especially with maintenance. So people look at it as a very, very long-term thing. But yeah, there's people with cash laying about that would be willing to invest it with you if the opportunity arose and you sold it in a compelling fashion. So that's another way you could get some money. I've said borrow friends and family. Obviously, another one is organic business earnings and reinvestment of profit. This one I like as well, because obviously, if you've already set up a business and you started it with £1,000, say, and you've over the space of 6 months turned that into £10,000 or space of 10, whatever, the numbers don't matter. If you've increased that capital, then again, that's a great source of of moving forwards with it. So reinvest in your business profits, either your current business, this business, the online arbitrage business, whatever. Another one is loans and credit. So this is where it gets a little bit more scary. But interest rates being so low, there are some amazing deals out there. So maybe some of you could secure a bank loan. Maybe you could secure some kind of other loan or some kind of credit cards. I suppose I should have put that in there, really. I won't put it in there. But yeah, credit, like 0% interest, credit cards, things like that. Or there's even this, Amazon loans. Now, if you're doing really well on Amazon, Amazon will come to you and they'll say, would you like to borrow X amount of money? And I've heard people say that the figures that they're being lent have ranged from pretty good to pretty spectacular. And as far as I'm aware, the interest that they want paying back on those loans, it's not unreasonable. So that could be another way to get your money. But whichever way you do it, you're going to need some money for this business. This is not a cash-free business. This is not something you start with nothing. The more you can start with, the better placed you're going to be to make some good money at it. So I've talked enough about that. First things first, you need to get your money. So moving on to sourcing products. Okay, so obviously you're going to have to source a lot of products. If you want to make £1 million, or you want to make £100,000, or you want to make, I don't know, £50,000, whatever your figure is, you're going to be sourcing a lot of products. So you want to delegate and automate whatever you can. So this is the key to business, and it's where a lot of kind of one-man bands and small businesses go wrong. So like you get your kind of, it's probably a lot of guys in vans like that live near me. If they've got a van, 9 times out of 10 they probably work for themselves. They're earning really, really, really good money doing whatever, whether it's like, I don't know, plumbing or aerial fitting or whatever. They're earning good money at it, but they a lot of them never take that next step and employ other people and take other people on, and I think that's why they end up with very good earnings and very good kind of jobs, because they're tied, they're trading their hours for money, and they never a lot of them never seem to make that leap into employing people and let them trade their time for money, and you take the profits on the top. But a lot of people I see struggle with that, and it's the thing I like to do pretty much as soon as possible in a new business. I like to get people on it. I need to figure out everything for myself and know how to teach it and know how to do it perfectly. But then as soon as I know it as well as I'm going to know it, I just want to pass it off to somebody else, and I want to pay them, even if it means taking a loss for a while. I want to pay them to build my business for me. That's the way you build a truly successful business, not just by slugging, burning yourself out. And obviously, if you can get somebody else doing the majority of the work, then you can apply yourself to something else. Something maybe you're more passionate about, or something that there's more money in, or just an extra source of income, because we all like multiple sources of income. So I'll stop rambling and I'm going to go on to sourcing products, delegate. So whatever you can delegate. That's pretty much in every business. So you're going to be basically looking at sourcing staff or sourcing VAs. So sourcing staff is obviously employing someone wherever you live, whether that's in the US or the UK or somewhere else in Europe. But yeah, it's employing someone local that can do the job for you. Now, something like sourcing, it might not take a long time. For example, if you give them some sourcing software, you could have them start running it in the morning, and then they just evaluate all the products it's found at the end of the day. But yeah, basically you need either staff or VAs equipped with appropriate tools. Now, the main one obviously is sourcing software. This is an essential nowadays in online arbitrage, especially if you're looking to scale up to anything kind of significant. You need some decent software. Now, one of the products I really like, one of the pieces of software I really like for sourcing my online arbitrage is FBA Wizard. Now that might change. Obviously, this video is probably going to be here for a year, 2 years, 5 years, probably going to be here forever. And I don't want you to come and watch this video in a year's time and think, oh yeah, Matt says FBA Wizard's the sourcing software to go for. Obviously, these things change, and I wouldn't want, I don't know, something else to come out that's amazingly better and then it's not the best one. So instead of putting the link down for FBA Wizard below, I'm going to put the link down there for the best piece of sourcing software that I know of, or the list of the best ones. If there's just one, there's just one. Now that might be FBA Wizard, but the link's down at the bottom, and that's the best sourcing software I know of right now. This is mostly aimed at UK people, but if I can, I'll add a link to US. In fact, probably the software. I've noticed there's a trend towards the software, all of the software makers, the sourcing software, all doing all the different markets. So to be fair, it'll probably apply wherever you are. So yeah, link in the description below to the best sourcing software, but you're going to need that. And then obviously you want to equip your sourcing staff or sourcing VA with that sourcing software so they can find the deals for you. Another thing you want to be doing is you want to be automating everything. So if we follow this down, automating everything is sourcing software, which at first you'll use and then you'll teach your staff or VAs to use. Another one is sourcing lists. Now I really like some of these lists. When you think about it, like, they've basically just got VAs that are scouring using the same software that you can get. They've got VAs that are finding deals and then they're just posting them to these lists. But you know what? If you get a good list, you can do all right from it. So again, I don't want to recommend any list right now because I recommended a list a few videos ago, and although I still get on really well with it, a couple of people have had it and they've been like, oh, it's no good, it's no good. And obviously, I think it is good, but people's opinions differ, and it depends on varying times of year. Like, I found some really good deals with it, but maybe there's not so many good deals right now. It's not forced to be the actual list. It could just be the time of year. There's just no deals out there, or they're just having a little rough patch. But what I'm going to do, again, I'm not going to mention any names really. I want this to be a generic overview of scaling up an online arbitrage business to £1 million or £100,000 or whatever. So I'm going to include, if I feel it's necessary, I'm going to include a list to some sourcing stuff down below. If there's no list there, then obviously just do a Google search or something like that. But I'll try and stick to only putting the best lists and the best software and things like that in my descriptions. So, and I'll make sure that the links, I keep on top of the links and make sure that they're up to date. So even if you do watch this video a year from now, 2 years from now, and my messages still apply, let's say Amazon haven't, I don't know, gone bankrupt or something crazy, as long as this video is still relevant to you, then I'll make sure that those links lead to appropriate and good level software and lists and stuff. So when you're trying to build to this kind of scale, obviously you don't want to be buying one list anyway. My opinion is purchase all the lists. Now obviously this is not going to apply to you if you're just starting out or you've just got like £500 or something to buy your first inventory with. You're not going to need loads of software, but to be fair, at them kind of levels you're not going to need staff or anything. You're just going to need to just get like either one list or one piece of software and do it yourself. But this is really for people looking to scale up. So I would advise you buy all the lists. Now this is not something I've done yet, but it's something I've been contemplating because these lists, there's good returns on investment on them. Obviously, if the list's costing you £50 a month or £20 a month or £100 a month, whatever it's costing you, as long as you're getting, I don't know, as long as you're finding a couple of products a day from that list, and if they're putting out 30 lists a month, then it doesn't take a massive leap of faith to believe that them lists are probably really good good value for you. So again, I was gonna just put the best sourcing list down there, but even if it's not when I first put the video on, I'll make sure that for people coming in and looking at this video sometime from when I first put it up on YouTube, that there is a good list of lists on there, okay? And I'll try and indicate the ones that I've had most success with. Again, it's no point me mentioning any names because things could change today, you know, so there's no point me making something in a video that I can't change and then, you know, regretting it. So yeah, I'll just put it down below. So the price should reflect value. £50 a month is good value if there's plenty of deals. Obviously, evaluate the list. If it's any good, keep it. If it's not good, get rid. Simple as that. So let's say there's 20 lists. I don't know how many there is, but let's say when you watch this video, there's 20 online arbitrage sourcing lists from different providers, and you went and bought every single one of them. Well, you're quickly going to figure out which ones are good and which ones aren't good. And a lot of them have got like free trials or free little, like they'll give away a few products a day or something like that. So give them a try. If you're looking to scale up, then it's absolutely worth doing that. So yeah, give them a try. If they're any good, keep them. If they're not good, get rid. Ooh, hold on. Right. So which moves on to, so you've got your sourcing staff or your VAs. Or VA, you've got your sourcing software, so they're armed with the correct tools to be able to source for you, and or you've got your sourcing lists. I would also have your VAs and sourcing staff, I would have them also using the sourcing lists, because the lists you should never buy from blind. You should never just go, oh, it's on the list, so it'll make money. No, 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 no. You need to know how to read a keeper graph, which I've talked about in another video, and you need to just know what you're doing really, because the list, if you bought all the products on the list, you probably wouldn't get as great results as if you're selective and just choose the right ones. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to move on to prepping. Okay, so prepping. Let's go over here. Okay, so I hope you can see this, guys. I hope it's not too small on screen. I've not even thought of that. It's the first time I've done it. So yeah, so obviously prepping takes a lot of time, effort, and hard work. And when you're having lots of deliveries to your house, and obviously you've got boxes everywhere, maybe you've not got the biggest house or you've not got much room in your house, it can get a bit of a struggle if you're doing more than a few boxes at a time. I should know. Again, look at one of my older videos where we've got piles and piles and mountains of boxes, and obviously I don't film most of that stuff, so trust me when I say we've had monstrous piles of boxes. And obviously this is something you need to remember if you're looking to scale up. You're not going to be able to send £1 million worth of products through your house, because it's just not going to be doable unless you live in a massive mansion and you've got a 5-car garage you can do it in or something like that. So for most normal people, you're not going to have the space. So the options as they stand are: worst option if you're scaling up, and the one that I'll put at the top here is do it yourself and or a partner. So when you're scaling up to large volumes, obviously the volume is too high to handle. You try and do, I don't know, you try and do 1,000 products. It's difficult, you know. It's difficult. You've got to unbox them. You've got to check them. You've got to take labels off them if there's any labels on there. You've got to return the ones that are not right. You've got to put your FNSKU label on there. You've got to polybag some of them. Then you've got to put them in a box. You've got to seal that box. You've got to print out labels, put it on the box. You've got to weigh the box. And you've got to wait in for the UPS man to come and pick them up. And if you're nice like us, you got to help the UPS man, because otherwise you feel bad for him having to carry lots and lots of boxes. So that's option one, do it yourself and or a partner. But these kind of levels, that's okay at first while you're learning, but these kind of levels, it gets a bit difficult. So you're not going to want to do that. And you know what? The biggest thing is your time's better off spent elsewhere. You could be sourcing products. You could be looking at other business opportunities. you could be living your life rather than doing all that stuff. And again, you've got to learn it. You've got to do it at first. You've got to do a bit of this stuff, because otherwise you won't understand the effort and the time involved. But eventually, when you're looking to scale this up into an actual business, you can't do it from home yourself. And maybe you can. Maybe you're a machine, but it's difficult. Okay, and obviously if you're doing serious volume, we're not talking £10,000-20,000 a year. If you're doing serious volume, you're going to need premises. And obviously there's associated costs and risks involved with that, business rates, rent, insurance, all that kind of things. So another one is staff. But having prepping staff comes with its own problems, because obviously you've got tax, insurance and red tape. Anyone that's employed people can know it can be quite a headache. It's very, very, very rewarding when you get it right, and I love employing staff. It's one of the things I miss most about running the nightclub, but they can be difficult at times. Obviously, if you're going to have staff, you're probably going to need premises, because otherwise it's like, yeah, come on, random person I don't know, come into my living room and pack all these boxes. It just might get a bit interesting and difficult, especially, and same again, it's with big scaling, when you're scaling it up, and you could do in big volume, it'd be difficult to get it all done in your house anyway. So, and then obviously you've got to supervise them. You don't want them stealing things. I'm not saying they would, but you don't want them stealing things. You don't want them like making mistakes that could be avoided that might risk your account. So there's lots of downsides to staff, but it's an option. If you're going to go premises and you're going to get big, then it's definitely an option, and it might be a relatively cost-effective option. So then the next one, and the one that I'm going to be spending a lot more time and effort thinking about, is a prep center. Okay, so obviously these guys that start prep centers, 9 times out of 10, they're an Amazon seller, either are or was, and they know exactly what it takes to prepare their products and ship them to Amazon and get everything right. That's not saying that they will. Obviously, there's massive risks in using a prep center, because if they screw something up, you're vicariously liable for their screw up in a way. If they send, I don't know, a load of cabbages to Amazon in Monster Munch boxes that should be remote control cars, Amazon aren't going to be too pleased. So, some rogue employee at a prep center could really ruin your life. So you kind of got to trust them, and you've got to really, you've got to put a lot of faith in them, and you've got to find the right ones. But this is what I'm going to be using, I think, I'm almost certain, when we scale this up. I'm going to use most of our manpower on sourcing, and let the prep center take care of that. So for those that don't know what a prep center is, it's basically somewhere you order your products. So you go to Walmart or Tesco or wherever, and you order your products, and instead of getting them sent to your house or picking them up in your car or whatever, then you would send them to the prep center. At the prep center, they do all the things that I talked about with regards to prepping, and send them into Amazon on your behalf. So obviously the cons, I will start with the pros. Let's be positive, eh? The pros are there's less potential problems. As long as you get a good prep center and the guys are involved are good people, then there's less chance of things going wrong than, say, employing some local guy that you don't really know, having them in your house, or in some premises, and having to worry about locking up. And I don't know, there's a lot that could potentially go wrong, and it removes your need for staff. So that's one of the pros of a prep center. Obviously, this is the biggest one. If I knew how to make this writing big, I would make that writing real big. What was that? I don't know if the cat's smashing things up or if it was a firework, but something banged. So, scalable. That's the main thing. Using a prep center is scalable. Obviously, if you're going to send them lots of volume, then they're going to employ more staff, but they can they can spread the fixed costs of their operation over a larger range of customers. So, for example, the premises that maybe they got for themselves and a couple of other customers, they could probably fit another 10 customers in there, not a problem, or another 20 customers, another 100 customers, and it shares the costs over them customers. So there's only one set of insurance to pay for, there's only one lot of heating and lighting and things like that. So those fixed costs, I suppose they're not all going to be fixed costs, but the costs associated with running that operation can be spread over multiple customers. So scale is the biggest pro, and if I can make that massive, I'll spin it around instead. Look, wow, it's amazing. It's like some kind of whoa. So scalable. If you're looking to do £1 million in sales or profit or whatever on Amazon, doing online arbitrage, you need to be able to scale it up, and a prep center would enable you to do that. So the cons are the cost. Obviously, you've got small margins on some stuff, especially toys at Christmas, it seems, but small margins that get smaller. So you just have to make it up with volume. One of your big disadvantages, or the con, so it's not a con, but the disadvantage of a prep center is that they take a chunk of each unit that you send to them, and before it sells, so, or potentially before it sells. So you're going to have to make up with that cost with volume. So let's say you settle on a 35% margin. Once you've taken into account a prep center, maybe you're sitting on 25% margin on average or something like that. But obviously when the numbers get smaller, then it gets a bit more of a concern. So let's say your margins are 20%. Now I wouldn't go that low, but I know people that do. But let's say your margins are 20%, then you're going to struggle when you've got VAT to pay, and you've got, or VAT to collect, should I say, and you've got costs of prep centers and things like that. But yeah, you're going to have to make it up with volume. And yeah, obviously the main disadvantage, I suppose, the ultimate nuclear bomb disadvantage is a bad prep center could cause you problems with your account. So that's that. I'll move on. I'll move on to the last thing. Okay, thanks for sticking with me, guys. I know this is a long video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got some value, but I'm not quite done yet. I'm getting there. So obviously, you need to keep good admin and records. So you've got your tax to deal with. I would always use a qualified accountant and qualified bookkeeper. Don't try and deal with tax on your own, guys. You've got enough on. There's enough to deal with just trying to earn a living and make money and stuff like that, and learn all the things you're going to have to learn and stay on top of. Don't make tax one of them. You need to know the basics. You need to know the important stuff. Obviously, I'm not the person to learn that stuff from. You need to ask an accountant. But get an accountant. There's some very reasonable priced accountants out there and bookkeepers, and they're worth their weight in gold. I'm not saying because they're going to somehow be able to save you a ton of money. I've found that most accountants are very much you give them your receipts, you tell them how much money you made, they do their thing, and then they submit it to the taxman for you, which we'd like to think that like these rich businessmen are getting away with loads of taxes, and they are. They're probably using loopholes and going and living in Monaco and the Cayman Islands and things like that. But we're just normal folk, and you know what? Just not having the headache of tax in a business like this is a massive advantage. So get a bookkeeper or an accountant that does your books, and all you need to do then is just give them all the information. Just give them the receipts, give them your income, give them your bank statements. Let them take care of it, and then you can kind of sleep easier at night knowing that somebody that knows or should know what they're doing is taking care of that stuff for you. Another one that you've going to have to stay on top of is tracking returns, unfulfillable inventory, stranded inventory, stock received. For example, let's say, take this example, right? This has happened, or something very similar has happened to me. I've ordered 50 units of one product. When it's come, there's only 49. Fine, you might think, it's only one. But let's say your margins on those 50 products are only, when all's said and done, you're only going to make £1, 20 out of each of them. You're only looking at making 50, 60, 70 quid or something like that from selling them. As soon as you've lost one, all of a sudden it eats into that margin a lot. I always liken it to shopkeepers. Now, some shopkeeper told me when I was a kid, I never ever stole anything. But I remember him saying, if kids steal like one Mars bar, that's my profit for the whole box of Mars bars. So he's got to sell something like 20 Mars bars to make that profit because the margins were so slim. And it's the same with this. If they don't send you one, that's some potential erosion of your margin. Again, might not be the end of the world, but it's something. But then let's say you send them into Amazon, a couple get damaged on the way, and then they get returned to you at some point and you can't return them to the shop, and then you got to sell them at a slight loss or something like that. That's more a margin eroded. And then if you send them into Amazon and then Amazon don't check them into stock, they magically get lost, as happens a lot with Amazon, and then no one stays on top of it, and no one actually says to Amazon, hang on, you need to give me money back for that stock that I sent in. These things can all erode your margin, and by the time you're done, you was running around for nothing. So admin and records is an important thing. So the last, really, whatever you call these things, the last thing is acceptable ROI. I thought this was quite important to talk about because obviously it's all right sourcing products, getting staff to do it, and VAs. It's all right getting your funds from somewhere, and being well capitalised, and then you've got your prepping sorted. That's great, and then your taxes and things are all in order. But if your ROI is no good, then you ain't going to make any money. So, an acceptable ROI. Now, I've got to admit, I wanted the return on investment from this business to be higher than it actually is. At the time of making this video, I couldn't even hazard a guess as to what the average return on investment for online arbitrage is, because there's too many variables, including what category you're in, what marketplace you're selling in, what products you choose. But this is an important consideration. And I remember one of my first questions in one of the Facebook groups, and someone shot me down for asking what ROI was. But I think it's possibly the biggest decision you're going to have to make in this business once you've got all the other basics sorted. Because obviously, do you buy lots of products, or get lots of width in your product range? Or do you get depth in your product range? So lots of units of the same product, or do you buy lots of different types of products and have less units? And obviously on the ones where they only sell 4 a month or something, they tend to maintain decent margins because the aggressive sellers are all after the crazy deals, the ones where they make an absolute fortune. So they're not interested in the smaller stuff. So anyway, I'll go through my list because I obviously wrote it for a reason. So for me, 30 per month, sales of 30 per month is the magic number for depth. If it's selling 30 a month, then I'm not going to buy 5 of them unless there's like 100 sellers. I'm going to buy more than that. Whether I buy 10 or 20 or 30 or 50, there's lots of different factors that go into making that decision for me. But that's when I start to get interested in depth, when it's doing about 30 a month. 4 sales per month is a magic number for width. Again, I'm telling you all my thoughts and secrets and stuff. I'm not saying I invented them, but this is kind of like peeping into my mind of how I think about this business. But all I want to do is give you value, guys. So if you've stayed with me this long in the video, I'm happy to give you this value. So 4 sales per month is the magic number for width. So what I mean by that is, if the product's selling 4 a month, then it's worth probably taking a look at to maybe buy it. You're not going to sell 20 a day of these products. You're just not. but that's okay. What will hopefully happen is they might take a little bit longer to sell, but when they do sell, there's usually less competition, which means the margins aren't eroded so much, and you might walk away with a nice, I don't know, 50-60% return on investment, which is good. Again, these figures could change over time, though. By the time you watch this video, these might be different, or I might even consider these embarrassingly out of date. But right now, they're the magic figures, I think. So I would encourage width more than depth. Depth's okay, but for example, I bought a product and I was able to get, so I knew the seller was selling out. It was the last they were going to get of them, so they was putting them on a deal. And instead of £5, which was the price everywhere to everyone on sale from any retailer, I bought these at something like £3.30 or something like that. But I wanted the lot, so I bought all of them. So I'm sitting on over 100 units of this particular product, knowing that I bought them for less than everyone else. But I'm a match pricer, so I don't penny undercut or try and price cheaper knowing I'll get all the sales. Now, flip side of that is what was a good selling product and was well worth buying that many, for some reason has now become a product that's just selling 4 a month. So now I'm sitting on a lot of depth. I'm sitting on over 100 units and it's selling 4 a month. So obviously that's a concern. That's an issue. It's something I'm going to have to look at. I don't know, maybe when Amazon do the free removal things, maybe I'll remove a good chunk of them and then just keep them here and send them back in slowly or something like that. I'm not sure, but again, especially when you're first starting out, I would encourage width more than depth. But when you're scaling up, again, you're not going to be able to scale up with a lot of depth unless you're selling really, really, really quick. I mean, if you're one of these guys that's happy to take a 10% margin, then you probably will be able to scale up with depth because you just sell it that fast. But obviously other people will see what you're doing and maybe ruin your party a little bit. So I would encourage width. There's less risk in it, even when you're scaling up. If you've got VAs or staff doing the sourcing, there's no reason not to go wide, and get lots of products. So what is an acceptable ROI? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? 40%? 50%? 60%? Well, my magic is I like to source them when they say they're going to give me 60%. I'll touch them if they're like 50%. I'll even touch them if they're like 48%, 47%. I don't tend to go any lower than that. Even if it was selling 1 million of them a day, if I was only going to get 5% ROI out of it, I ain't going to do it. There's too much risk for it to go the wrong way. Amazon coming in and selling it for cheaper than you could even buy it at, or lots of other things that could go wrong. So if you start off with 50, 60% ROI when you're sourcing, then even when things start to go a little bit worse, if they do, then it can come down, but you'll still make a respectable ROI. Obviously, the more capital you've got, the more you can be willing to leave it invested in the stock. If you've got less capital and you need it out quicker, maybe you're going to have to accept a smaller ROI. But that's a decision for you to make, guys. Sorry, I've still got apple in my tooth. It just seems to be the last bite of every apple. It's like I'll get like a bit of skin in my tooth, and then it just winds me up all day. Can't even get it out with a toothbrush. So yeah, another little note for ROI is need to be ungated for best margins and most choice. So obviously, if you're going to do this on a big scale, I mean, you can stick to the ungated categories when you're first starting out, first 6 months, a year if you want. As long as you want to, really. But in reality, at some point, if you're going to scale this up, you probably want to look at gated categories because there's probably going to be more choice and better margins just because there's less sellers in them. Again, what I mentioned earlier, slower selling products usually retain better margins and then reinvest everything to grow. Obviously, you're going to have to take a wage at some point, but if you can put that off as long as you can, then you should. Because every penny you earn, you could reinvest, and then your pot gets bigger and bigger, your stock gets bigger and bigger, and at some point you want to take it. But if you want to get to these kind of figures, then you're going to have to reinvest most of it unless you're starting with a big chunk. So yeah, that's my overview of scaling an online arbitrage business to £1 million, or insert whatever figure you want there. Yeah, that's it really, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm not sure if I should have split this video into a few or if I should just put it up in one big video, but I've really enjoyed making it, and I do hope you get some value out of it. Let me see if I could screenshot that. It'd be a nice screenshot. Mind you, I can't see it on my screen, so yeah, I'll just leave it like that. But yeah, that's it. That's the how to make £1 million with Amazon online arbitrage plan. Guys, I put a lot of time and effort into this, so let me know what you think. Was it a waste of my time? Should I have just gone to the cinema or gone on a Sunday dinner instead? Or did you enjoy it? Would you like more of these longer videos? Or do you prefer the shorter, quick, in and out ones? Did you get any value from it? Please let me know in the comments below this video. Every comment you write, I read. They mean the world to me. I just want you to get great value from this channel. I want you to tell everyone, if you feel like you're getting great value from this and you know someone in this business or wanting to get into this business, I want you to go, oh, you know what, you should check out Matt's channel, Secret Wealth Project. It's all right. You know, and obviously online arbitrage is not where I'm going to end this. This is the beginning of this channel, not the end, the absolute beginning. I want you guys to stay with me on this journey until you, yes you, I'm even pointing at you, look, until you get rich. Yeah, rich, wealthy. Why not? Why not? If when I say you're going to get rich with me, you don't believe it, then why? Why don't you believe that? Why can't you get rich? You give me a good reason why you can't be rich. Because I tell you, it's not true. As long as you're breathing and walking this earth, you can still change your future and you can still get massive positive outcomes from anything you apply yourself to. So yeah, I'm going to watch you get rich with me. The people on this journey that watched this video in the early days, that are still with me years from now, you guys are going to be the ones that are like, wow, Matt told me I was going to get rich. Maybe you believed me, maybe you believed me, maybe you didn't believe me. But for you guys that didn't believe that you was going to get rich, and now you are rich, amazing feeling. Anyway, I am rambling. This video is already as long as it needs to be. Just please have belief in yourself, guys. You know, if you look at this and think, oh no, £1 million is ridiculous, or £100,000 is ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. Let's set up this stream of income, guys. Let's get this locked down. Let's get this business building itself. Let's get it all automated, all delegated, you and me. Let's set it on autopilot. And then once it's on autopilot, let it run itself. We'll just keep peeping in, making sure everything's flowing, everything's going all right, nothing's going wrong, and let it just build itself. That's how to get wealthy. That's how to get rich. And then once we've got that money, we're going to plonk that money into something else, whether that's property, dividend-paying shares, another business, whatever. But let's get this one locked down, yeah? So I hope this video was useful to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please click like if you did and subscribe to see more videos, and let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. I'm going to go live my life now and probably go for a Sunday dinner and Google Sunday dinner. If you're an American and you don't know what Sunday dinner is, Google UK Sunday dinner and have a look. We don't do much good cuisine in this country, although I do love my fish and chips. But I tell you what, Sunday dinners are good. Anyway, right. I'll speak soon. This has been the Secret Wealth Project. I'm Matt. See you next time.